V. Well, one of the smaller parties which would hope to benefit, I suppose, from a change in the system is the Green Party, and Stephen Agnew from that party is with me now. You're welcome to Hearts and Minds. How much of a blow to you is the disintegration of the Green Party in the Republic?
Well, on a personal level, I'm very disappointed for colleagues, but, we're going forward into this election still optimistic. Greens elsewhere, including in Germany recently, where we've just become the second biggest party in a huge German state, give me reason to be optimistic about our chances here in Northern Ireland. We've also got the Scottish Greens who are looking to treble their vote. That's independent polls saying that. But we obviously got our first MP in Westminster and hopefully getting our first Assembly member in Wales. So the overall Green project is buoyant and I'm optimistic, but there's no doubt, of course, that the result in the Republic was a disappointment.
And do you think that it will damage the Green cause on this island?
I don't think so, and the reason why I would say that is what the Green Party in Northern Ireland has in common with the English Greens, Scottish Greens, the Welsh Greens, and the German Greens was we're all parties in opposition, and we're benefiting from that. As I'm sure you're well aware, politics goes through cycles. At the minute, governments are being hit wherever they are, whatever parties they are, and they're all suffering in recent elections. We're in opposition in Northern Ireland. At the end of the last Assembly, we were the only party in opposition, and I think people want to see an alternative to the existing coalition that we've had in Northern Ireland, and we are that alternative.
Do you think in the years since you got that first MLA last time round, do you think that Green issues have become more commonplace, more mainstream?
Well, I think if you take a look at the Green New Deal, I introduced the Green New Deal in the 2009 European elections. Since then, other parties have started to talk about it. Now, what I would always say is, they've had to be dragged there. They've had to be dragged there by the Green Party as well as groups
But even Friends of the Earth says the Green New Deal is largely tokenism.
Well,
as it's interpreted by the parties at the moment.
Well, that's my point. If you want green policies, you have to vote the Green Party in to implement them, because what we have is tokenism from other parties talking about the Green New Deal. We have a miserly $4 million put aside for it in the next Assembly term. We need to commit to this. It's been called for by business groups. It's been called for by environmental groups. It's been called for by trade unions. We need to listen. We need to implement it. It has the potential to create jobs. Has the potential to help tackle fuel poverty, has the potential to help tackle climate change, and those are exactly this type of policies.
But aren't you too small a party to make any real difference to the way the big parties handle these issues? I mean, it's dictated by the economics of the moment largely, isn't it?
Well, as I say, if you bring good ideas forward, other parties will pick them up, and that's what we've done with the Green New Deal. And we have other policies, because if we bring them onto the table and then the civic groups get behind them, the big parties have to listen. So that's what we're doing by being in opposition, by presenting what's wrong with the current executive, where they're making failings, and by offering alternatives, so as those alternatives can be picked up.
So does that mean you function more as a pressure group than as a political party?
No, we function as an opposition. We keep hearing people saying the importance of opposition, and absolutely, we are important. It is important to have the Greens there in fighting for the alternatives that we need.
One member, let's say you keep
we're going
if you get another one, I mean, it's not a big voice, is it?
Well, that's my job to make it big. The Greens have traditionally fought above their weight, and I think we'll continue to do that in the next Assembly. And what we'll be pushing for is to implement policies that are not just good for the economy, which is important, but also good for people and good for the environment. Because the failed policy of the previous Assembly is to say the economy at all costs. Well, people are losing jobs because of that policy. The environment is almost beyond repair. So we need to get more holistic policy. Money is tight, so we need to make sure we spend that in ways that are meeting all our policy objectives.
Okay, but at a time when money is tight, is that not exactly the time when innovations go by the board because people don't want to take any risks?
Well, there is no risk. I mean, for example, we talked about the Green New Deal. The part of that is the insulation scheme. We're doing a pilot. Now, this has been done in the Republic of Ireland. This has been done in England. We don't need to pilot it. We know it works. We know it creates jobs. We know it helps reduce fuel bills. We know it helps reduce carbon emissions.
But it's public spending, and there is no money to spend on it.
Public spending. We will tell you exactly where we get that money from. We currently have a $790 million scheme to build new roads. Now, already people are struggling to cope with the price of oil. Why should we lock people into a future where we're dependent on oil when oil's running out? What we're saying is scrap those road building schemes, invest the money in public transport, invest the money in the Green New Deal, invest the money in renewable energy. These are going to create jobs. These are going to help us move forward into a low-carbon future, which we have to do. It's whether we do it now or whether we do it in the future,
right.
but we'll do it now.
Nuclear power, the big issue at the moment, of course, following the Japanese disaster. People like George Monbiot, who were previously he called it nuclear neutral, although he's an avid green advocate, of course. He's now saying, I think nuclear power is good because we have proved, or Japan has proved, that even in the face of a huge natural disaster, it's not as bad as people feared it would be.
I said before, we need to base all decision-making on whether or not it's good for the economy, good for people, and good for the environment. Nuclear doesn't tick any of those boxes. Renewables and it is a choice between the two. George Monbiot said it isn't a choice between the two. They can coexist. We have limited government funding, as we've talked about. We can either put the subsidies into nuclear or we can put them into renewables. Renewables have better potential for creating jobs. We can get them on the ground quicker to help our energy independence, and they're cleaner environmentally.
What
so
would be kind of success
option
in this election?
More seats, increasing our votes. We're going in and we've chosen tactically this time to stand in less seats. The reason being we're standing in seats where we can win.
OK, Stephen Agnew, thank you very much indeed.